Ah, welcome traveler. Come in, take a seat and put up your feet. Today, we're diving into a game called Foundation, a gridless medieval city building game, where we will be cooking up some roleplay to enhance the gameplay. This is part 6 in our multi-part series, and if you'd like to see more of this, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Let's get cooking. And we are back once more in Temporia. Quite a lot happened in the previous episode, in that we went and cleared out this island and finally started setting up the planning for the different districts. Now, what are we going to be doing today? Well, we're going to continue with the districts first off, and the most important thing being that I went and set up some additional storehouses here for quartz, glass, and marble, and I did say that we were going to build the gold smelters over here. However, with the gold smelters, there is one thing to keep in mind, and that is that they will actually, if I go ahead and place it here, you'll see that if you build it, it will tell you that it has unfulfilled requirements. And this is that it actually needs to have light fortification around these buildings. So instead of placing them out here with the rest of our raw resource, processes, we're going to go ahead and place it inside with the other production buildings. So this will probably be the only raw resource processing building that we will actually place inside the walls. It's going to do that. I would like to just come in and make it a little bit more compact, because we are obviously still going to need a little bit more space for the builders' huts with the extensions to produce glass and marble, or statues should I rather say. So we'll go for something like that, and that should leave us with enough space over here for the glass and marble statues. Great, well, that is our industry districts at least done for the time being, until we unlock weapons, that is. Then we will come in and add some more stuff over there. But what we can go do now is actually have a look at setting up the food district, which will be over here. Now I want to come and bring over all of the fishers' huts over there. So you're going to come through to here, grab all of these, and move them over. Quite a tedious bit of work, so I'm just going to quickly finish setting up all of these, and then we'll be right back. There we go, our fishing industry is now set up. We went ahead and just added an additional 4 of these fishers' huts though, just to fill out the shore. And now we'll just go and move over some of our granaries that were storing all the fish, and just make use of this space for that. There we are, our granary is now in place, but something to keep in mind is that the granaries, like the warehouses, also get an extension to their storage space. So we're just going to keep a little bit of space between these buildings to accommodate that storage upgrade. We're just going to go ahead and throw in an additional 3 here, just because it's going to look really nice. There we go, all done. Now we'll just allow that to build, and we'll start looking at bringing in our other food production buildings into this space here. Now we will want to have a look at what is going to stay here and what is going to move over. So obviously sorry about that, just go here, there we go. So obviously our farms themselves will stay here on the mainland. So for example, this will still produce milk here, but we want to move our cheese maker over because that is a secondary production. So we'll go and grab both of our cheese makers, and we're going to set them up over in this little section over here, as well as bring the granary over to actually house the cheese. We're also going to move the milk granary over as well, so that the actual raw resource of milk is close to the cheese makers, so they don't have to travel very far for that. Now the cheese itself will also be housed here, but I think it's going to be perfectly fine to have both of these in this little section, so we'll have basically a dairy corner. And there we go, we have our little dairy district, so to say, set up. Then we'll set up another one for the production and processing of meat, but we'll have our hunters over here in a small little hunting community close to the hunting grounds. And then we'll set up another one for the storage and processing of wheat into flour and then into bread as well. So let's quickly get ahead and start setting all of that up here. Here we are. Our food producing district has now been set up. And I think that this should provide enough space still for each of these granaries to have the storage extension built onto them. And with enough space still to also come in and do some additional decorating. Now, one thing that is going to be probably a problem in the future is that we are going to struggle a bit with producing enough food to feed all the people living in this area as well as these two, because we're going to need quite a lot of immigrants to fill in all of these job positions. But it shouldn't be a problem for too long, as we will actually be able to convert some of this open area into additional farm producing land. So for example, this over here, we can shift all of these warehouses out and turn this into additional wheat fields. And we can obviously go and turn this into where we will have our hop farm. And we're actually going to do that very soon, as I want to jump over to here and set up where we will have our hunting grounds. In order to do that, we will have to purchase the rest of this territory though. So as you can see, you can't actually purchase this right next to the border of the map. It won't allow you to, and it won't even allow you to properly build there as well. So with that set up, we're now going to go and just grab our hunters' huts, which are over here hidden within the forest itself. There we can see one of them. There should be another one over there. Yep, there we go. So we're just going to grab these and we're going to move them over. I think I actually want to move them into the open first, just over here, just so that it's much easier for me to actually come in and grab them when I want to move it. There we go. And another way that you can do this is just to go over through to your royal book, go to your buildings, set them by name, and you can scroll all the way through until you eventually find your hunter's huts, and you can very easily just locate them. So as we can see, I only have 2, and they're both here. Fantastic. Well, let's go grab these, shift them on over, all the way through to our little hunting island, and we're going to place one over here. Let's just rotate this ever so slightly. And we'll go grab the second one. And we're going to do the same. But we're just going to set this one a little bit further down to about there. Again, rotate it, just so it's going to look good. And then obviously we'll have to set up a small little housing district here for the hunters themselves. We're just going to do that, and we will provide them with a well as well. Let's just turn on the zone notification or markers, just so I can see a little bit better as to where exactly I'm going to be placing housing for these people. I think we'll do something like that. We'll go slightly into the forest as well. They can actually live around these buildings. I'm not too worried about their housing quality, as we won't have too many hunters. It'll only be the people that are working at these hunting huts, or these hunters' huts, that will actually be living here. And we will actually go and construct an additional one. Something I do want to maybe look at is just adjusting the position of these hunters' huts, because they have a negative influence as to where you place them. So we'll just move them in a little bit further into the forest itself, just that you see that it has the area of influence around the building. I just want that outside of our housing district. There we go. That should be fine. Come in and do a little bit of cleanup here. Ever so slightly. And that should be good to go. Right. Let's have a look if we have any more immigrants. We actually have some coming as I say that. Let's allow them to join up. Come on. Speed things up ever so slightly, just to 2 times speed. And we can go and assign these as well. Now we have enough workers here in this city market, and I want to get the markets filled up first before we worry about the taverns. The reason for this being that I want to have our people have access to food before we worry about, entertainment. So you definitely need to fill up all the market tenders positions, but you don't need to fill up all of the transporter positions. And what I had already gone and done is just set up each of these, the market stalls. I've set all of them up to provide all of the goods they need to. And at a later stage, if need be, we can look at expanding this a bit. But for now, they have a setup where it's slightly different. Each one is at least 2 of the 3 available resources, just to add some slight variation throughout the settlement itself. Right, with that hunter's area moved now, we can actually come in here, and we're going to remove this designation for hunting here, completely eliminating this, so they will no longer come here to hunt. And we'll go on through to the island, and we'll set this whole area up to be hunted. This will provide plenty more meat for us, or rather ores, which can then be processed into meat. And in the future, if we find that we are actually producing an excess of this, we can look at actually expanding each of our food production industries at the food district. That should be good to go. We do, after all, have a little bit of extra space here and there. We can readjust the buildings, squeeze them up a bit, but we'll only look at doing that after we've built in the storehouse and the warehouse and granary expansion for additional space, because we want to make sure we have enough space actually for that blueprint. The next thing we're going to look at setting up over here is our hop farm, but I first need to go and actually chop down all of these trees that are blocking off this area, so that might take some time. But what we can also do is look at moving these warehouses and tidying this area up a bit, and possibly expanding the farmland just to go in here as well. But let's get started on first setting up a small lumber camp and eliminating the trees that are actually blocking us off here. Now, usually I would just say, break it all down in a game that we had a lot of lumber, but in this game we are constantly turning our wood into planks and selling the planks off to make coin. So I would like to keep all of the possible, lumber that we do get. I would like to actually keep it all, because I know that we are going to need it. And with shifting around a lot of these buildings, it's actually consuming a lot of resources as well. It's not just a completely free move. And while we do have a lumber operation happening over here, chopping down trees, replanting them, it's not going to produce an insane amount of wood. So we will always be, where we can, topping it up with that little bit of extra. So obviously we're just going to come in, designate this all to be chopped down, and there we go, and we'll just leave that for the time being. Once we have some more immigrants coming in, there we go, 2 of them, we can go ahead, set them up here to be the woodcutters. And while we're at it, we have to look at just relocating our berry farms. Now, the berry farms, they also need forest in order to operate. So we're actually going to move our berry producers also into this hunting area. There we go. Like so. And 1 more. We do have some additional ones over by the charcoal industry. The charcoal and lumber industry has some additional berry huts that have been set up there. But I have noticed that sometimes a bug will happen, especially with, I'll show you right now, this little berry bush here on the edge of the water. You'll actually get a thing that says that they can't reach the destination. I see that the same is happening here with the fish. You'll sometimes get that villagers can't reach their destination for some odd reason, and for this one it's because this side of the berry bush is actually blocked off by the water. I'm not quite sure what the issue is here with the fishing spot, but there are still some small bugs and glitches here and there to do with villager pathing. Right, so we're just going to let this chop down. We're going to let everything else be built up, set up, get that all up and running again, and then we'll be back in a bit. Well, at least all of our buildings have been moved over, but a little bit of a recommendation for anyone else that might be doing something similar in the future. Rather take it in small pieces, take over one building at a time. I made the mistake of moving all of the buildings at the same time and took a massive dip in our production, to the point that we're actually struggling now to create enough rustic and refined food for our people to keep them completely happy. So it's much better to take this slow, move over one building at a time, maybe two, just so that you don't interrupt your production chain and the flow of it. We now have a quest to actually come and decorate our village itself. So we're going to say let's decorate. And we're just going to go through to the progression tab and just make sure that we actually have these unlocked. So these are tier 2 decorations. And we're just going to grab the tier 3 and tier 4 and tier 5. We're just going to grab all of them while we're at it. And we might as well just come in and grab the storage improvements as well, as I actually want to set up the additional storage space. But we're going to leave the sculpture workshop, glassworking, candle shop improvement, and common wares improvement for the time being. We'll jump into those next, but let's first get these warehouses set up. So as you can see, quite a lot of decorations have now been unlocked, as well as the expansions for those buildings. And what we can go and do is, just to get this done, we're actually going to come in and decorate our old little donut district over here. We'll probably go and just find a nice little open spot to place some of these down. We're not going to go too in depth with this yet, as I do want to set aside some proper time to actually do some decorating. But we can come in and at least do some basic decoration. Now, something to keep in mind with how the decorating in this game works is that, as you can see, these different buildings are available, and then you'll see that it has a small green area of influence around it. And as soon as you go, keep an eye on this rose bush here, as soon as you go closer to it, the more compact and closer in range that you place these decorations to each other, the greater the area of influence is. So if I was to place one over there, it would be the standard size influence. But if I start placing decorations closer to each other, they actually are influencing a lot more houses. Their area of effect is growing quite a bit more. And I love this mechanic because it allows you to build things like little parks, little beautification spaces inside your settlement that are concentrated doses of, beautifying aspects. I think it's brilliant, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what we can actually play around with in regards to this. Let's go throw down a oak planter over here, perhaps here. That looks good to me. We still need a road sign and a rope fence. We're just going to come through, find the rope fence. There we go. Perhaps put this here. And then finally the road sign. There it is. And we'll just find a nice little orientation for this. Let's see, somewhere where there is a... Ooh, actually, that would be perfect. Right there. And there we are. Finished that objective. Fantastic. We're just going to let things build for a bit here, try and get our industry back up, try and fill out all of these open vacancies that have now been created in the moving of our buildings. And once we've filled all of these out, just make sure that our food takes priority first. Then we can actually go ahead and start expanding a bit more. We are obviously still waiting as well for this to be cleared away. We have our woodcutters here working away at cutting this forest, but we do have plenty of wood And I have actually gone ahead and paused this lumber mill here, this lumber camp. Pause them for the time being because I don't want them to create so much wood that we are sitting at a maximum capacity, thus bringing this one to a stop. I want this one to be the one that's operating, chopping down as many trees as possible. If we go over here to our zoning, we can see that this has been allocated to be chopped down, and hopefully they'll get stuck on that. Although at the moment it seems that they're actually waiting for work, strangely enough. Come on. Very annoying, but unfortunately we'll just have to deal with that. I think it might be because, let me quickly check here, it might be because our wood storage is actually at a maximum. Each of these is only holding 400 at total. So I do think we might have to just get our sawmills operating a bit more, turning that wood into planks and creating enough space for these woodcutters to actually start working again. Well, what we might as well do in the meantime is just making sure that all of our most important industries are filled up with workers. Berries seem to be fine, and an easy way to do this is to go over through to the Royal Book, go through to buildings, categorize it by the amount of workers. As we can see, there are plenty of buildings that actually require workers. We're going to go to a little bit down the list and start seeing where there are some missing. For example, this farmer, that's very important. Transporters aren't very intrinsic at the moment. Bakers we're going to need. Carpenters, foragers, farmers. Farmers are very important. Just so we can start getting our food industries back up and running. We'll jump over to our farms and we're actually going to focus on getting the workers here back up to maximum. Our people are getting slightly happier. We do still have a shortage of the rustic and refined food, which is a bit of a problem. Taxes are obviously also taking a minus 15% to our happiness. But we can look at cutting that in the future once we are back up and running, because we are in dire need of money at the moment. And I don't want to go into the negative, so we might have to go over through to the mandates and get a levy. There we go, just to keep our money up. Obviously, as we're getting more and more people to come and join, we might actually go in here and welcome 5 new commoners, just to get a good flow of people coming into the settlement itself. Our money will start going up a bit more once we are actually in a good standing with production again, and we're selling enough goods again to actually cover our losses. For the time being, we are just going to wait for people to come in and for this land to be cleared. Once that's done, we'll be back and look at setting up a hop farm over here. We'll jump over to our farms and we're actually going to focus on getting the workers here back up to maximum. Our people are getting slightly happier. We do still have a shortage of the rustic and refined food, which is a bit of a problem. Taxes are obviously also taking a minus 15% to our happiness. But we can look at cutting that in the future once we are back up and running, because we are in dire need of money at the moment. And I don't want to go into the negative, so we might have to go over through to the mandates and get a levy. There we go, just to keep our money up. Obviously, as we're getting more and more people to come and join, we might actually go in here and welcome 5 new commoners, just to get a good flow of people coming into the settlement itself. Our money will start going up a bit more once we are actually in a good standing with production again, and we're selling enough goods again to actually cover our losses. For the time being, we are just going to wait for people to come in and for this land to be cleared. Once that's done, we'll be back and look at setting up a hop farm over here. While we're waiting for the forest to be cleared, I'm just going to come in here through to our warehouses, go through to the edit building. We're going to grab this warehouse depot, which is a extension onto it. and we're actually going to add these in here. Reason why I want to do this is because I do want to have some more space in some of these warehouses, specifically the wood warehouse. I feel that our lumber camp is in dire need of this expansion. So I'm just going to come in here, throw this down, and it will actually expand the storage space by a considerable amount. I may end up doing this as well for others that are full, such as our wool and cloth. I might come in, I'm actually going to do that right now, come in and just expand it by a bit, just placing it so that there is enough space for a walkway to still happen around it. Now, it's really handy that these buildings are actually able to clip into each other, as long as you just have one of the accessible arrows here available. So we're just going to do that, and that should at least now, hopefully, allow our people to store more resources inside these warehouses. We don't have to worry so much about our industries actually shutting down because there isn't enough space to hold the items, specifically being our wood cutting industry. Right, well, as before, let's just let things run, get things finished. We'll be back in a bit. We're going to come in and do a little bit of cleanup. We're going to grab all of these industries that are just kind of spread out here, the remainder of what we haven't moved into the island, and we're going to shift them over into this area here, just to try clear this up a little bit and to organize it a bit, make it look a little bit better. So let's get right on that. And there we are, all tidied up. A lot of land has become available now, and we can look at possibly setting up another wheat farm in this area. Perhaps we can squeeze in 2. Now as for this is clearing up quite nicely. Once we've finished off with these 3 corners of this forest, we can actually have a look at setting up our hops farms. And we should be able to squeeze in 3, maybe 4 farms into this little section. Which will be really good for production, as we can then take the hops that we produce, send them over to our food industry section here, where they will be processed by the brewery. And speaking of the brewery, we're actually going to go ahead right now and set that up, so that we can have production ready for once our hop farms are actually up and growing. So we'll just come in, we'll throw down 2 brewers like so. There we go. And then finally, of course, we're going to come in and grab 2 granaries as well. Once these are up and running, we will be able to supply our people with everything that they will need at the taverns. Some of the taverns are, of course, obviously producing their own drinks as well, such as this tavern over here. You can see that we have actually, this one here, we've assigned it here to, why is it not showing? That's a bit embarrassing, but let's go over to a different tavern. So this one, for example, we can see it's producing beer. This one over here should be producing berry brew. There we go. And I think this one, it's because it's still under construction. It's not quite showing yet, but we will have that one producing as well. And you can see here from the options that you have berry brew, a beer, or wine. Now, we won't be producing wine quite yet, as we need to get access to the vineyards first. And the vineyards are going to be part of the abbey that we will construct over here. So it may take a while for us to actually get that industry up and running. Let me just quickly jump in here, and while we have set up these granaries, I want to just immediately add on the depot as well, just to expand the storage space. Just going to throw that one on there, and this one is just going to get a little depot up on this side. Great. That should be everything that we need for this whole region. And now we can just focus on, well, just getting this finished. We may also play around a bit, have a look at how many of these hops farms will actually fit in here. I believe we should be able to put where this lumber camp is at the moment. We can put one there, and then that should be enough space for that. We can put another one in here, and it can make use of that space. Third one can make use of all of that, and then a fourth one can make use of that. So we'll see how many we can fit in. We'll go one by one and just try to grow their land and try to accommodate to the maximum possible workers that we can have. We want to obviously also be constantly allocating our people here. So when we come in, we can have a look here, set this to hops. like so. And obviously we're always coming in and renaming our buildings, and we're just going to set some villagers to work in there for once it is constructed. Let's have a look here. Yeah, we'll do that trade, and thus we'll just keep getting some more and more coins that we can just constantly be using to upgrade when we're actually looking at these two trees. Now for now, I do actually want to come in, and while we're waiting for that forest to finish up, we need to grab some of these as soon as we have enough coins to unlock them. We are struggling a little bit with our coins at the moment. As you can see, we're down to that, and we are actually in the negative. So we have to try focus on getting our industries up and running to the maximum possible output that we can, so that we can start selling goods again. But this island is already starting to look really good. You can see some of our houses is actually upgraded. They've actually upgraded all the way to the 3rd housing density. And that's because we went in and painted this area to be patrolled as well. And the patrol is now coming through from that manor over there. But once our farm is built up, we'll actually address that and look at setting down our own manor in this middle section here of the island. Right, well, let's let this forest clear out a little bit more. We'll keep allocating the immigrants to go work in places that actually require workers. And once this is done, we'll come right back and have a look at setting up those hop farms. Right, so that's most of the trees cleared away. We just have the lumber camp coming in to clear away those last few trees there. But we can actually get started on setting up our hops farms. So we're going to jump over here to the food production, grab the hop farm, and look at setting them down. And also we're going to have a look at how much land is actually going to be required for each of these as well. So going to set one over there. We'll do another one over, I think, here. Maybe a 3rd over there. And let's see if we can squeeze in a 4th as well. If we can't, we could just come in and delete these buildings. And if we have extra space, we can always come in and set up some more. Now, unfortunately, we still don't have our industries running up to where we want them. So we don't quite have the gold to build everything here that we want. So we're going to again have to go and squeeze our villagers with a levy. Let's have a look. There we go. Now they may be unhappy for a while about that, but it's okay. Eventually they'll be a lot happier once we have everything set up. So we're going to just have these hops farms built. We're just going to go in and set them to be prioritized for building. And we may come in and just move a builder's hut. Let's have a look if we can find the nearest one. There we go. We're just going to grab this one here. We're actually going to move it over just so it's a little bit closer, so we have some builders actually focusing on this area. Here we go, like so. And once this is up and built, we can have a look at actually setting up the farmlands. Well, I think we should be able to fit one in here, in this little spot there. Another one in that section, another one over there, and the last one over there. So we should have 4 that are operating, and we have storage already set up for them all the way here in the food district. There we go, nice expanded storeroom with plenty of space for the hop that we'll actually be getting from that farm. See, some of our houses are already upgrading. But we really do need to look at setting up that manor and getting the patrols going so we can have all of these houses covered with some proper security and patrol routes to get them upgraded to the highest density possible so we can get as many people working up close here to their workplaces. Let's grab these buffs immediately and have a look at this. Yes, we can do that. We'll trade them for that. Now, we just got some coins there, and what I do want to do as well is just come in and actually use some of these coins to just get some additional taxes going. So I want the mining taxes for sure. Let's have a look here. We can maybe get a tavern upgrade. Sure, let's upgrade that. We're not going to get the inn quite yet. We don't quite want to jump into the lodging yet, but we will eventually be doing that. And we're also going to jump over here to the common path and just get the upgrades for the candle workshop and the common wares improvements as well. We'll leave the glass and the marble for now, the sculpture workshop, which processes marble into sculptures. We'll leave them for the time being as we're not quite jumping into that yet, but we do want to have some of these at least, so we'll look at what we can possibly grab here. Although I think we're out of coins at the moment, but we're good to go with this and that additional edict. So we can jump over to the royal book, look at our edicts and privileges, and once we're unlocking some more of these, we can actually put some of them into place. We can go over to our taxation and also activate this, just so we are also taxing on our mining sites and making a lot more money. We may go and remove the windmill though, just so we don't get the minus coin over there. We only have 2 windmills. I'd rather have the 10 mines instead of the 2 windmills getting taxed. Our taxes are a little bit high at the moment as well, but it's okay. It's not upsetting our people too much. We just need it to run just so we can stay in the positive, which we still aren't quite doing. We're not quite reaching there. Our territory upkeep is massive because of all the land that we've unlocked. So we have to find a way to mitigate that, and unfortunately taxes is the only way that we're going to be able to get close to that for the time being. Right, well, let's let this build up, and we're going to come over here through to our candle shops. We're going to edit these buildings, and we're going to put on the workshop extension. We're just going to slide this in here. It just automatically attaches to the building itself. There we go. And the same thing with this one as well. There we go. Fantastic. And of course, we're also going to do the same thing with the common wares. So we come in, grab the little workshop tower, place it down, and the same over here. And it's just going to increase our production of these items, which is great because we're going to pump out a lot more of them and our people will be a lot happier. And we do have some unemployed people. Let's grab them as well. Have a look here. We can't feasibly do that right now. We don't have the wheat to actually trade away. So if we look over here, our wheat is essentially non-existent. We do have a crop that will be coming in soon though. But we're just going to sit back, wait for this to finish building. We'll get some employees built up, saved up, so that once this is constructed, we can just immediately throw them in here. They can start working and we can set up the land. Something we can do in the meantime, while waiting for this to be constructed, is we're just going to go in and grab some more of these village fences and start just running a perimeter around the beach. Because eventually we will be closing it in. And oh, look at that. Our first hut here is actually completed. We can have a look at the size, but we're first going to throw down that little wall and wait for all of them to be constructed before we mess around with that. We'll be back in a bit. Right, so each of these hop farms actually take 3 workers, so we're going to assign them. And then we're going to paint the fields quickly, although I do have a feeling that this is actually going to be a lot more space than what we'll actually need. Just have a funny feeling about that, but we'll see. So as we can see here, this currently still says it's too small. And there it's already saying adequate, and there it's already saying it's too large. Okay, yes, so this is going to be quite a bit more space than what we actually need for these farms. That is actually perfectly sized apparently. So what we can do is just come clean this up a little bit, and what we can maybe do is throw in some additional farms towards the back here. Maybe we can put some additional farms along the route over here. And then we will actually end up having a lot more hops being made, and we can actually look at selling some of this beer that we will be producing. So that one's set up over there. Go in, do that. And again, come in, paint where we want to have them farming. Again, I think this is going to be quite a lot. I think that we have more than enough space here to actually operate this. There we see, already adequately sized. Let's just go clean it up a little bit. Fantastic. We can have this one over here working this zone. Let's just switch this back on. We can have this one over here work this zone here. We can have another one constructed that can work that zone. And this one over here can probably work this area here, and we'll build another one to work that last little square. So we might have 6, possibly 7 of these hop farms in total in the end. Now with that in mind, I do just want to come in and adjust these fences a little bit. because obviously now we are working with a slightly different design. So I'm just going to come in, grab this, do some slight adjustments, and then just create enough space for us to throw down our additional 2 hop farms. And here we are. It seems that 7 of these hop farms will actually cover this entire area here. So that'll generate plenty of hops for us, and hopefully we can generate a lot of beer from that, process all of that into some good beer to sell and keep our villagers happy as well at the taverns. Just going to let this little village fence here build up. But while that's all busy, I actually want to jump in and finally get started on our Manor project over here. So I'm thinking that we're going to make use of this road system that we have here and already set up something that makes use of this. So we'll have arches that are going over the road, very similar to what we have here at our old manor. See, like this arch here. And we'll actually have the road running through the manor building itself. We can also leave quite a bit of space for a nice garden and really beautify the manor. And we're going to be very clever with how we also play this. So we don't want to have a lot of buildings for certain aspects of the manor. See, if we go over here, we jump to the manor house itself. You'll see there's the treasury, tax office, the watch post, the bailiff's office, and a great hall. I actually want to shift our great hall and bailiff's office from there over to this location eventually, but not quite yet. I'm going to first hang on with that. But I will set it up in a way that there will be space left specifically for these 2 aspects. The treasury will increase the total money we can hold. At the tax office, we can have more tax collectors, which we will need plenty of in order to cover all of the houses that's going to be in this district. So those are the 2 main buildings I want to focus on. And then I also want a sizable watch post. That's the 3rd one. I want a sizable watch post so we can have enough people actually patrolling this region and upgrading these houses to the 3rd tier of housing density. It's very important. Right, well, I'm going to jump onto a little design here for the manor house, and we'll be right back, and hopefully we can get that built. Another thing I want to do quickly is just jump over through to the progression tab and unlock this manor house city architecture. I want the best possible architecture that we can make use of for our central manor house here. So I'm going to make use of those parts to build this up. And there we are, quite a sizable manor. So as we can see, we have a main section here, which will actually be the treasury, and then another section over here that's the tax office, and then another one over here which is the watch post. Now the watch post I just still want to edit a little bit, just to raise up some of these building parts, just ever so slightly, just to add a little bit of elevation on this side. There is still a large section of this area that I've designated for the manor that is still set apart, and that's to eventually bring over the Great Hall, as well as, if we look over here, the bailiff's office as well. I want to bring the bailiff's office over here, spruce it up a little bit, add quite a lot of decoration onto that. I think I'm going to do that now quickly, so that we can get the best possible bailiff that we can and really boost those prices for trading and start making up this downfall that we're having here in our money generation. So in order to do that, I will need to come over here, click on this manor house, say edit, go over to the bailiff office area, which is this whole section here, and we're going to have to switch the function of this building. So we'll switch this over to a treasury. There we go. And now we can actually come in here, add the sub building, put in a new bailiff's office, which we're going to do on the opposite side of this watch post. There we go. Quite a massive building, but it's fine because we want a very ostentatious manor here in the center of the island. Now where we will be making use of the overlay is with these decorations. We're going to make use of the ground brazier measure. There we go. We're going to find a nice little spot for this somewhere, and we're just going to throw a lot of these on top of each other just until we are actually ready to decorate in earnest. So as you can see, I'm just putting a whole lot of these on here, and this will greatly increase the prestige of this building while not actually increasing your footprint. I'm going to go quite ridiculous with this. And the reason for that is I'm also going to come over here to the levies. And I'm going to levy the villagers one last time to get a large chunk of money. See, we are now 1,170 just for this building. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to actually want to try get exactly that amount that we need for this. So as you see, keep going, keep going, keep going. Still quite a bit to go. We can go for, I think that should be fun. That's going to generate insane lighting textures over here. But at least it's only in one little spot, and once this is actually all done, it won't even be visible. Quite a large footprint of what needs to be built, and this thing is going to take a ton of resources. We can see here, look at that. That is a lot of resources, an insane amount of planks. So we are going to let that build. Hopefully we get that finished, and then we can actually come and have a look at this. And remember, we are keeping a section separate for the Great Hall. I think we'll add the Great Hall onto this side eventually here, onto this, or alternatively onto this side here somewhere. Perhaps here we'll have the Great Hall. But we do still want to keep some space separate for some nice gardening and decorations around our manor. Right, well, let's let that construct. It's going to take forever to do, but we'll put a priority on it. And once that's built, we'll have a look, and hopefully our settlers will stop leaving. They're not very happy with us at the moment with all the levies, but we'll manage somehow. So let's let things run, let this build, and then we'll be back as soon as this is finished. Finally, our manor house here in the center is completed. It took quite a lot of time because of the shambles that our industry was in, but we've managed to recover everything now. We've built up our population again. Our manor is ready, and it's also been decorated so we can actually go ahead and we can set the bailiff. And you'll see, due to those additional decorations that we stacked on top of each other, you'll see that the percentage on our bailiff is extremely high. So we are going to nominate one of these, either one of these two, because we want that bonus from trade prices. We want that because we want to get out of debt over here. Hopefully that will see us through in the future trades that are to come. And with our population increasing, there are ever more people arriving over there to join. We can hopefully get things up and running again and look at doing some improvements in a future episode. Because, unfortunately, we have run out of time for today's chapter. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as that would greatly help the channel. If you'd like to be kept updated as to new videos being released, then please hit that notification bell. If you have any feedback, suggestions, or requests, leave a comment down below and let us know. Until next time, this is Roast Temp. Keep cooking.